Welcome, fellow Tarnished, to Dark Fantasy Games, a channel dedicated to Elden Ring and the dark fantasy genre. In this video, we're going to look at how I unintentionally cheesed the Tree Sentinel. Now this story actually starts in the Celia Crystal Tunnels, in an area known as Caelid. I'd actually been teleported here from the Limgrave starting area after opening a treasure box that turned out to be a trap. This area is actually quite far away from where you first start out, and at the time I was very underprepared and found it quite difficult because the enemies seemed to be quite a high level and were pretty much one-shotting me. So after getting out of there, I headed down through this swamp area and noticed there was a few of these rotting stray dogs which looked like diseased dogs. But while I was going through these ruins here in the swamp of Aeonia, I actually discovered a summoning ash which was actually for one of these rotting strays. And at the time I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, well, I've not really got many summoning ashes, it's probably going to be worth a try. Not realising that this was actually going to be something that was going to be very, very useful against the Tree Sentinel. So here we are at the Tree Sentinel, and I thought I'd give it a shot. I'm still pretty low level and I thought I'd try a few different things out. We lobbed some fire at him to see if it was going to do any damage, see if he was weak to fire. Didn't seem to do a massive amount of damage. Now this guy is actually quite difficult early on, or at least I found him quite difficult. Maybe because I wasn't leveled enough and I'm still using the starter equipment pretty much. Just the way he moves, the fact that he's on horseback, you've got not only his attack with his halberd to contend with, but you've also got the attacks from the horse as well. He's very agile, can move very quickly and close the gap extremely fast. Massive amount of reach with his weapon. The rotten dog didn't last very long, as you can see, and I just thought at this point, well, I'm going to have to do the heavy lifting on my own. I only took a few hits and I was almost dead. I thought, you know what, I'll run away into the Church of Ella to get a heal in, and then realised he was coming in after me. So I was in kind of panic mode at this point. Because even though the title of this video is how I cheesed the Tree Sentinel, I'm not that type of player usually when I play these games. These types of games are challenging for a reason, and I like to try and beat them as legit as possible, if you know what I mean. I'm not the type of person who cheeses games. But at this point I was hiding in the bush just to try and get some distance, and it was only at that point then that I noticed that his health was actually quite low. And I thought, how did that happen? It was when he got a little bit closer to me that I noticed this red mist coming from him. And it was at that point when the penny dropped and I'd realised he'd been poisoned by the rotten dog. And this is actually a status effect known as Scarlet Rot, I believe. This builds up and builds up, a little bit like Poison did in the Dark Souls games. And it just keeps building and building and building until eventually whoever's been poisoned with it is dead. And this is how I cheesed the Tree Sentinel. As much as this may have been a story just purely out of me finding it funny, it actually is not a bad tip to know that the Tree Sentinel is what seems to be very weak against Scarlet Rot. So if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And before I go, I'd just like to say, may you be blessed with a curseless journey.